powers must act together, because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, but the world's problems are not Europe's problems.
चुन चुन करके हिसाब लेना ये मेरी फितरत है.
Why should it be a problem if I'm smart enough to have multiple options? You should be admiring me.
भारत झुकने वाला भी नहीं.
The rise of India will be determined by India. It will be determined by our strength, not by the mistakes of others.
The old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new, please do like and subscribe. Before we get started, let's get going. Let's talk about today's topic. What that is. Today's topic is the real meaning of Donald Trump's G2. Now, for those who've been following me for quite some time, they know that I made a video about G2 when Donald Trump keeps talking about G2. What exactly does that mean? But in this video, I'm not going to talk about what exactly G2 is. I'm going to tell you what exactly is Donald Trump's plan and what he is cooking with Xi Jinping. What exactly is going on behind the scenes. And the picture is actually very grim, to be honest, guys. All right. And I'm going to connect all the dots for you. And I'm not going to say anything, like just in the air like that. As always, I will provide you the proper proof of things, how things are shaping up, and what exactly is going to happen in next few years. In fact, okay, things may start to take a twist and turn pretty fast, actually. Okay, so here we go. Let's get going. Let's get started. Please do like and subscribe. It doesn't hurt you. It just helps me. Okay, now. So see, Donald Trump keeps talking about something called G2. Is something a G2 on the same it follows the same pattern as G4 or G7 or G20, like that. But in his mind, or I would say that people who speculate about it, they say that it's mainly what he wants is that a world increasingly shaped by just two powers, United States and China. Or more like Donald Trump just wants to bring back that bipolar world. But I think that is not the case. The question still remains that what did he mean by that? And I have made a video on this, right? But to understand this whole thing, okay, we have to look at what is happening around us right now. Okay, on August 14, just 2 days ago, the United States has prepared an ultimatum between American-led and Chinese-led AI frameworks. And let me actually share my screen on this, and you can go and verify these things. I'm not even making any of this up. Okay, and then we will go further and talk about it. All right, so 1 second. Okay, so let me share my screen real quick. All right, so what it does, what do you see on my screen? It says the US plans, this is Reuters report. Okay, now the US plans to pressure countries to choose between its Pax Silica AI coalition and China's rival AI framework, warning that they cannot participate in both. A draft State Department letter says to be part of everything is to be part of nothing. Washington wants partners to commit exclusively to its tech ecosystem, limiting China's access to resources needed for advanced AI. And you see this, right? All right. So now let's go back to our thing. Then on September, in September, what's happening? The United States and China are expected to begin formal negotiations, specifically over artificial intelligence. Okay, these negotiations are going to start in September, and then on September 24th, President Xi Jinping is expected to visit United States. Now, think about it this way: Donald Trump, on one hand, he is negotiating directly with Xi Jinping. AI has been part of these discussions, constant discussions, and then he comes out and he says lots of different things. And then also you have to understand this. You have to understand it. The scene is in the AI world is this: the panic button. Lots of us already know about it, that AI bubble. The experts, in fact, lots of economic experts, they are saying that AI bubble is about to burst. Then another talk is that Chinese open source AI models. Now, what exactly all that is? So I'm gonna bring up all this later on in the video. So stay with me, okay? Just stay with me. But I just don't want to break the chain here. All right. So the question really is again that what exactly is G2 supposed to become? Then other thing is also that India is building its own semiconductor and all that ecosystem. Then India is part of Pax Silica as well. And then India is also working towards building its own AI infrastructure as well. So the question really is that what United States and China are actually cooking. Okay, and where do India and Russia fit into this new order? What's going on here? So without much ado, I'm gonna actually tell you something right away. That question for you. Okay, ask yourself this question: that could G2 actually represent two competing AI economic blocks? A block that is US led, Pax Silica block, and then another one is China led AI block. So I'm here to tell you that yes, because United States, just now I showed you, right, that US is pushing for it automatically by default. US is already doing that work, okay? And and then again, if you look into it, then on one side, US already has Pax Silica. The State Department basically, explicitly describes Pax Silica as covering the entire AI supply chain, critical minerals, energy, advanced manufacturing, semiconductors, compute infrastructure, and AI and all that. Then on the other side, China has now established a world artificial intelligence cooperation organization, or more like WACO, WAICO, which is headquartered in Shanghai. So what China is also doing is that China is simultaneously promoting open source Chinese AI models and presenting AI access as something developing countries should not have to obtain exclusively through Western companies. So the most I would say most revealing type of development that's happening in this whole thing is that US has prepared a message, right? I just showed you the message that I just showed you, that US to tell partners uh, that they must pick sides in AI race with China. So what we are beginning to see is something that's going to resemble somewhat like this: the American AI ecosystem and Chinese AI ecosystem. Okay. But here's the most important question, though, guys. That so is it gonna make a bipolar world or something? No. So you have a couple of things here. Okay, bipolar world meaning that bipolar world meaning geopolitically or politically, that's the political architecture of the bipolar world means AI in AI, or you can say technologically, this could be a bipolar world, or you can say that technologically also, as far as AI frontier models are concerned at the top level, maybe, but at the bottom level it will still be fragmented. Why? Because if and when India's a semiconductor and AI infrastructure is ready, then lots of things are going to change. Okay. and we will talk about that in some other video. Okay. uh the question now is this: some of you may ask this question, that why would two geopolitical rivals form a G2 group instead of a group of like-minded countries? See, China and US are not like-minded countries. If you look into it, the G7 is a gang or group of like-minded countries that want to that was formed to control the oil. Okay, this is why I said that G2 is something like G7, but it's not G7. Now, the question is that why two rivals will agree to form G2? So there is so here's the thing, okay, and this actually relates to uh, the infrastructure and the investment. Okay, now, so I'm going to explain you from US point of view, that what's the benefit for US in this whole entire thing if US forms, I mean, if and when if US goes with G2, and what is China's benefit if China goes with G2? See, number one benefit for US, if US forms, if this G2 happens, and G2 is going to happen, make no mistake, okay, you will hear this announcement after September 24. I can guarantee you, sometime in September or October, around that time frame, we are going to hear this. It's going to happen. There is no way out in this whole entire thing, okay, and I'm going to tell you after, just in few minutes I'm going to tell you, okay. See, for number one benefit for US is that US is already in G7. US is already leading G7. Okay, G7 is what? More like an energy grouping, right? Where you have oil and other pricing models. Then, so US is already leading that. Now, if US, or when G2 is formed, then US actually gets to lead another grouping that's called Pax Silica grouping, and Pax Silica or G2 on one side too. On G2, lead G2 for its own AI ecosystem. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so that's America's view or America's benefit. Now let's go with China's benefit. What is China's benefit? China's benefit is that uh, China gets to enter the global south really, really fast. And when I say global south, we are talking about entire African continent. Okay, African continent, including the Middle East, countries like Iran and all that. Then we are talking about ASEAN countries and all that. Okay, so China gets to do that. And in its neighborhood, we have South Korea, we have Japan, all these countries. Japan is part of Pax Silica. Japan may not be part of China. Same thing with South Korea. But China still will acquire a major chunk of the market. That's the second thing. Now, other China's other benefit is that China will probably get Taiwan. Okay, that is China's thing. That's the whole negotiation tactics. Because if you go look into Pax Silica, you find that Taiwan is not part of Pax Silica. Why? I mean, TSMC, a company that has that manufactures the chips. Okay, that has complete monopoly in chip manufacturing. That company, that country, or that company is not part of Pax Silica. That country is not part of Pax Silica. Why is that? Go look it up. I'm not making this up, okay? That is China's benefit. So China basically, as far as AI is concerned, China will start to, de facto, China will start to lead the global south into AI. And US gets another benefit. If say if China is not in the scene like that, that benefit is that US companies have invested very heavily into AI. Okay. And US will actually get countries like India into the ecosystem. And India is a very huge American AI cloud based AI market. Huge market. Your cloud, your you name it, the OpenAI is there. The maximum number of OpenAI users are in India. Now Claude is actually increasing its footprints over there too. And so so what happens, US gets to keep India and other countries that are aligned to US on the western in the countries in the western hemisphere, and then European Union is there, right? So US gets to keep all these countries. Now, so what does that even mean? Right, it leads to the next question. It's a question that that is going to lay the foundation for everything. I'm not going to drag this too long. Okay, see, the real question is that, so what is the real purpose of G2 here? Is it just like, okay, yeah, hey, you run your side, I run my side of AI? No, that's not the case here. Like, what is it? Is it technological cooperation, economic survival, or is it market protection? And this is the core of the whole entire video that I've been talking about. Okay, why I'm saying G2 is going to happen and what G2 is. Okay, see, for quite some time now, after the dawn of DeepSeek, China has developed lots and lots of frontier AI models. And right now, AI models and lots of coding agents are coming out of China. Open source coding agents are coming out of China. Okay, left and right. They are coming out so fast that US companies are not able to keep up. Okay, and US has very heavily invested into the AI compute capacity. Okay, US AI companies, what they did is that they invested into AI without really thinking about the pricing, and without really thinking about the customers, because US market is not that huge that America's AI companies are going to rely on just America's population, because it's the Gen Z population that uses the AI for the most part. Old folks don't know about AI, okay? And Gen Z population is maximum where? In India, right? Now, so that has been a bottleneck for United States, but they still invested into it. I'm not saying that they invested into it because they wanted to capture India's market. No. Now, so US has heavily invested into it. Lots and lots of small modular reactors. Look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been launching satellites after satellites, and he's planning to launch satellite data centers for the AI and all, right? And then data centers after data centers are being built all over. And so US has invested almost $1 trillion. US companies altogether, the cumulative, have invested almost $1 trillion. That's a raw liquid $1 trillion that they have invested into the AI. It's so much that now they're out of cash flow. Okay. Now when DeepSeek entered the market, okay, when DeepSeek entered the market, now, so US AI, now how AI works, okay, let me give you a little bit of let me explain it to you a little bit, okay, and and then you will get the picture what I'm talking about here. So it's not just that you get on Chat GPT, you chat something and this and that, you pay $20, you're good to go. Where the real money comes from in AI? The real money comes from the API calls. Okay, API calls, your background agents that are run. to do the tasks. Those are the main things. Now, when I say API calls, what does that mean? So what it means is that, let's say, uh, you probably have seen lots of companies that generate image and video, right? Images and videos, or they take some sort of song lyrics and then they convert that into a video, right? What happens in that thing? What it does is that it takes the song, makes the API call to that model on the cloud. It doesn't matter who the provider is. It could be OpenAI, it could be Claude, it could be DeepSeek. So it makes the call to the model that is going to that will take the lyrics and convert it into a video. Okay. And that's where actually the token consumption comes into play. And the reality of token is that even to this day, what we see, the token pricing is not an absolute thing. All right. Token pricing is something that it's very vague even to this day. Okay, they say that this many tokens, that many tokens, and this and that. Lots of things are said, but actually no, token pricing is not set. So right now, AI companies don't even know, America, especially US AI companies, they don't even know how much to actually charge to the customer. Okay, so hold that thought. Now let's go back to the API calls. So you have OpenAPI, you have Claude, the Anthropic, and then you have DeepSeek. Now let's say you have three providers, and for the same thing, there is three different costs are there. In this whole thing, cheapest is DeepSeek. So if DeepSeek is the cheapest, then who do you think a normal developer who is doing all this work to establish its startup, a company, and who doesn't even have a customer base yet, where do you think they're gonna go? They will go to the cheapest model that's available, right? Cheapest API calls. That will be DeepSeek. And that's what was happening, or that's what is happening with US AI companies, that they came up with all these different API keys and different API call rates and all that. Rates as in that a million input and 500,000 output, that type of thing. The rate. Okay, the token consumption, how many tokens are available and all that. But that's it. I'm not going to get into the complexity of it. Okay, I understand it and I do it. I know it. Okay, but I'm not going to get into the complexity of it. I'm just going to keep it simple. So what's happening here is that DeepSeek is taking over all that. Pretty much every AI startup. In fact, whether it is a hardcore AI startup or whether it is a certain company, small businesses or mid-sized company, they all are making they're making API calls with the DeepSeek. Now, this is a very, very I would say textbook Chinese trading strategy. And I have talked about this Chinese trading strategy pretty much every time I talk about the trade or pricing models or market capture and all that. I have explained this Chinese strategy one too many times. And what that strategy is, in a simple way, that first of all, introduce your product, make the prices so cheap, okay, make the prices so cheap that the local competitors or local business owners, they go out of business completely. They're not able to compete. And how China does that? China does that by providing subsidies to its AI companies or its own companies, the companies that make the product. This is how China has actually captured the whole entire rare earth supply chain. Then processing the rare earths. China subsidizes, China funds them day in and day out. You cannot just compete with that thing. The moment Chinese electronics companies enter your market, Chinese government funds them, makes up for their losses initially. And then what happens when the local electronic companies, they go out of business? That's when these companies start to raise their prices. Okay, and this is what DeepSeek is doing. So what DeepSeek has done is, DeepSeek entered the market, they lowered the prices so much that America's AI companies, they are just not able to compete with it. And because they are not able to compete with it, so now they want, one way or the other, they want this thing out of their market. Why? Because US AI was supposed to be for US customers. That's what they had in mind. US customers, maybe India and, Western hemisphere, so-called Donald Trump's, cockamamie theory, whatever that is. But when China's DeepSeek entered, then China started to grab the whole entire US market. So Donald Trump realized this thing that, hey, if Chinese are going to take our market, then all the AI stuff, the trillions of dollars that we have invested into it, 401k to index funds to securities, everything that we have dumped into AI, that's going to actually burst the bubble way before we thought about it. Why? Because companies won't be able to recover the cost. Now, when they can't recover the cost, then what's going to happen? They're going to take the loss. And when they're going to take the loss, then that will have a serious impact on America's economy. Chances are that it may actually collapse the whole entire economy if AI companies go out of business. Let's say, maybe I'm exaggerating that AI companies may not go out of business or whatnot. But still, they will take some serious loss. And this is why Donald Trump figured that instead of getting into this trade war with China, how about we discuss this and America takes 50% of something rather than 100% of nothing. And China understands this too. And what their plan is very simple, that, hey, you go and take your domain, Global South and this and that. We will stay here. We take this domain. And now, since already Donald Trump is already pushing that either you are with us or you are against us. What does that mean? It means that you work with our AI ecosystem. This is a non-negotiable. If you don't work within our AI system, then you are not part of Pax Silica and we won't give you any AI access. Okay, and Xi Jinping agrees to it. Why? Because Xi Jinping sees that, yes, because if they both work together in this thing and share the market accordingly and plan those things, then both of those countries and their AI infrastructure will thrive. Otherwise, what's going to happen? America's AI infrastructure is going to collapse, and then at the same time, Chinese AI infrastructure is going to collapse too. It's not like Chinese AI infrastructure is going to survive. Why? Because if India develops its own AI infrastructure, then India may go and simply help Russians too. Then India will start to take over a chunk of pie, right? The market capture. So the way these countries are investing into AI, they want to maximize their market, the market capture, the market control. Okay, and that's what G2 is all about. So what does this mean in the end? What does this mean for Russia, India? See, and Europe. European Union has agreed to join, for this whole Pax Silica and all that. But how strong that Pax Silica will be, only time will tell. Because India is working on its own semiconductor and all that infrastructure already. Okay, so India will have to be part of something until their own infrastructure is built. And India may actually help help Russia in this thing too. Why? Because Russia will be their whole entire energy market, energy, minerals, raw materials. Russians are providing the nuclear reactor building tech and all that too. India has its own other reactors technology. So, I think that for next from here to 2035, next 10 years, India will probably work with Pax Silica for the time being. And then once India's bottlenecks are addressed, as far as bottleneck as in the AI infrastructure bottlenecks, like hyperscaler, energy, electricity, power, all that. Once all that is addressed, then I think that India will be its own thing. Just like defense, right? What happened in defense? India used to import stuff, and after a while, India has its own military industrial complex. Hmm? Same thing with anything else. Before that, US and all were not giving their tech. This whole tech protectionism has always been there. It's not just the AI that we are seeing in AI. Donald Trump may be thinking that this is new or something, but reality is that tech protectionism has always been there. Whether it was in the space direction, in the area of space, whether it was in the area of defense, okay, or it is chip making, semiconductors, it has always been there. Only thing is that this is done to slow others down, and at least and slow others down so that they can figure out their next strategy. Okay, right now US will have to figure out the next strategy as to how do we survive this whole entire debacle. That's what Donald Trump is working on. So when he says G2 and all that, the G2 will be about segregating the AI ecosystem, Chinese AI ecosystem and US AI ecosystem. So we may see down the line, we may see DeepSeek probably will be banned in US and any Pax Silica grouping company. Oh, sorry, country. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Okay, that's the whole entire goal. So if you are a PI company, if you are a AI company or company that uses AI and you're making DeepSeek calls and all, I would say switch to something else. Okay. So this is it for this video, guys. I hope you learned something. Please do like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in another video. Take care.